Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was just released on Disney Plus, at least the first two episodes, and this show was confirmed back in November of 2021. And since it was confirmed, I absolutely could not wait for this show. I was so excited. I mean, you can ask Edward, it's been my WhatsApp profile picture for several years. I could not wait, and I gotta say, I was not let down by this show. I think I had one issue with it. I'll get into it later. It's very small, but I really enjoy this show. I think it's definitely a new take on Spider-Man. They've changed a lot of things with his origins, the people surrounding him, and I very much like that. They're not trying to emulate the MCU, although they do draw some parallels, which is extremely nice. But this is a new iteration, and I am such a fan of that. Whenever we get a new Spider-Man, I always like to see what they change, and they change quite a bit. I think for the most part, I wouldn't say any of it's better, but it's new and different, and that helps subvert expectations, which is something I greatly appreciate. And one thing that's pretty different about him is his costume. And if you've seen any promos for it, you see that he makes his costume at home, makes all of his web fluid. He's not like Tobey Maguire. But one thing I really like is this costume shows how he can grow as a character and grow as a superhero because you see this big ass canister strapped to his back that it's going to be heavy for any one of us, but not for him. That's just filled with web fluid because he doesn't know how to put it into the cartridges yet, that he'll eventually learn to do. And so I think it's going to be fun to watch the evolution of the character through his costume. The supporting characters around him, I really enjoy. I am a big fan of Nico Manuro. I've always liked her from the comics, from her being in The Runaways, from the Midnight Suns video game. She's always been a fun character that I've enjoyed. And there are a lot of characters in this show that we've really never seen before, especially not on this scale. I mean, before we've seen Wizard just appear. Here we're seeing a little bit more of an origin before we get into him. We've never seen the character Wave before, I think, in any piece of media except for comics and the Marvel Snap card game. I'm very much excited for that. And I like how they've changed a couple of things about supervillains that we will be seeing later that perhaps may not be going down a villainous path. And I'm really excited to see if they're going to change Lonnie Lincoln's fate or if he's kind of just doomed to fall to a life of crime.
Yeah, I had my doubts about this show. I just wasn't a fan. I told Griff we saw one trailer. I wasn't a fan of the art style. I don't know why, but putting on episode one, I think it was 30 seconds in, I completely forgot about it. It's well written. I like the story. It's well written. It's a lot of fun. And one of the things I could take away from this is, and I had completely forgotten about Griffin's WhatsApp image. Actually, one of our friends and subscribers uh, told me to tell him, hey, tell him to change his profile picture to a Spider-Man profile picture. And completely forgot that it was from this. I just thought it was just some random Spider-Man picture. And as I'm watching episode one and episode two, I couldn't help but think how much Griffin looks like Peter Parker. His from his hairdo to his glasses to his mannerisms. If you guys hear him speak, he's Peter Parker. Any iteration of Peter Parker reminds me of Griff. But getting back to the show, I was surprised by how he gets his powers. Of course, we all know the infamous Peter Parker story that he gets bitten by a radioactive spider. How that goes about, how that actually happens, I thought it was going to be like every other time at some science lab, at some science fair. I didn't expect, I'm not going to spoil how it happened. So if you haven't watched it, please go watch the episode. But I had a lot of fun. Episode one and two were a lot of fun. And I did not think that I was going to enjoy it to the level that I did enjoy it. I had a lot of fun with it. Peter's fun. Aunt May's still young and hot. And I was surprised by that because I thought they were going to go a different route. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens. I like the fact that the interactions with Norman Osborn, with Harry, I liked it. And as always, my favorite thing about any Spider-Man is that he's a kid. He's literally a freshman in high school. And we've all been there. We know how awkward that shit is. No one was cool their freshman year. I don't care what you say. And I like that Peter's this guy who's like learning about, you know, life, but he's got these superpowers. And one of the things we talked about in our everything you need to know about Spider-Man is how incredibly powerful he actually is. And it showcases that here. Some of the key points that we talked about in our previous video is that he throws his punch. He holds back. He stops a bus. He stops a SUV from crashing into a bus here, and he freaks out about it. He was like, "Man, that's so awesome that I was actually able to do that." He doesn't know how powerful he is, and the scene with the pyromaniac. He thinks there's a part where he thinks he knocked him out, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit you that hard." Then the guy scares the shit out of him, and then he actually slaps him on the back of the head and then knocks him out. I thought that was hilarious, and that's so Peter Parker Spider-Man. It's one of the things I love so much about him is that he's just a kid and he's learning about these powers and these responsibilities, but he's so immensely powerful that, as Griff said before, he'll knock the shit out of most of these, big time superheroes. And as always, I adore the fact that he's a genius. Here he is, this high school freshman, and he's as smart as some of these big heroes like Reed Richards when they were his age. So that I love that. I love the fact that he's got incredible strength, but he's also got incredible intellect. That's awesome. Oh, before I forget, one of the things I enjoyed most about these two episodes is Spider-Man has all these powers, and we talked about it before. He could go toe to toe with the Hulk. There's a particular scene where he stops someone from, taking someone's money, brings them back, and tells the owner, "Hey, man, I want to give her a pass on this one. I just think she's down on her luck." That also shows his humanity and his kindness. Because although I love him, Batman and Daredevil would not have done that. They would just turned him in.
Say what you will about your favorite heroes. I think Spider-Man is the truest hero in the sense, like as Edward said, so many people would have just turned them in, and but the way Spider-Man was gentle with her, I honestly thought he was gonna ask the pizza guy to offer her a job or something. I wouldn't surprise me if later we see in an episode in the background we see her working at the pizza place, but
I do love the
he will help
fact.
everyone.
I do love the fact that he did tell her, "Please don't make me regret this."
Yeah.
I hope she doesn't,
God,
but we'll
I
see.
love Spider-Man so much. I pretty much like everything about it. I like the 60s look. I mean, even Doctor Strange's costume, who shows up very briefly at the start.
Dude, I never got that. I just thought that was the I swear I never thought, oh, 60s retro. I just, for some reason, maybe I was just so into it that
Hey,
it
there's nothing
felt
wrong
like
with
modern
that.
day. I completely, you remember, because I did nag about the animation. It
Hmm.
just, 30 seconds in, I wasn't a factor. So
Yeah,
that's, if you
it's
can make me
just
forget about my bitching, that's awesome.
yeah. I mean, it looks just like a 60s comic. I mean, it looks because I if you see Into the
Oh, I love
Spider-Verse,
that
it
too. I
looks
love the
like
paneling.
yeah, like Into
I
the
love the
Spider-Verse
fact that
looks
it
like a modern
panels like
comic. And then
yeah.
this one just looks like an older 60s comic, and I love it. I like there are so many just Easter eggs about it. I mean, the way that Spider-Man swings and saves Harry straight out of the Amazing Fantasy cover. Um, there are just so many Easter eggs in this, and I can't wait. I love the parallels where the first time we saw Tom Holland, we see the exact same thing here, except there's no longer Tony Stark.
Yeah.
I
And we
love it.
saw Avengers Towers, right?
I think that may have been Oscorp here.
I don't, well, I thought
But
so,
there was a
but
big
then it
tower,
looked
yeah.
total, but then Oscorp looked totally different, like when we had it
And
up
you're right, you're
close.
right. I think you're right, considering that in the next episode we're gonna have this. Well, if the trailers are to be believed, we're gonna have the Civil War scene. So Avengers have to be here somewhere. So you're
That's
right.
awesome. Well, we know they're here because Aunt May has literally a
True. She has
little
the Iron Man
Iron
thing.
Man thing.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean,
She's a fan, so
true.
I can't wait to see
I,
Avengers show up. I
yeah.
know that this is very much a Spider-Man show, and I want to keep it 100% Spider-Man.
Oh, we're
But
going to.
one of the biggest things that I liked about Spider-Man, that 1992 Spider-Man animated series, which is still my favorite. That's where I get all my Spider-Man shit from. Uh, was that it was able to keep it very Spider-Man oriented, but also, dude, you had the Fantastic Four, you had the X-Men show up, you had the Avengers show up, and at one point you had my boy Daredevil show up, and I love that. And it
Well,
still was very Spider-Man centric. So
in
if we
this
can, we know
show,
we're getting cameos here, but
yeah, I mean, in this show, we are getting Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio both playing their respective roles in this show. I mean, we even know which episodes are coming in just based off the titles. And considering we had Doctor Strange in the first episode and we didn't really know much about that,
I love seeing that, by the
and we
way.
know we're
I
having
thought
a
that was
Civil War
awesome.
scene. There's probably going to be something else that we're going to see. I'm all here for it.
I have three very minor complaints. I am not a fan of the design for Harry Osborn. He looks kind of like Mary Jane in the Tom Holland movies. Um, I'm not opposed to them race swapping them, but and I also, spoiler alert, Dr. Connor shows up here and they sex changed her. I'm not a fan of that. I wasn't a fan of when they did it in the new Batman animated series when they, race gender swapped Penguin.
The only small thing I didn't like is that all of his friends are superheroes or supervillains. I hope we get some more just diversity with just having some more civilians. Right now we just have Aunt May. I'd just like to have just a couple of more. But I'm here for it. Next week we get 3 episodes. I can't wait. I mean, season up till season 3 has been confirmed. And season 2 is halfway done with the animation. I'm locked in. I can't wait.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're a big fan of Spider-Man, go check out our Everything You Need to Know About Spider-Man video. We break down everything from his origins, powers, must-reads, and must-watches. And if you enjoy the video, please let us know. Let us know what you thought about the show, and please leave a like and subscribe.